Hi, Jenny. I'm so glad you could make time in the middle of a busy school day to be here.
Well, thank you.
So I invited you to have this conversation because you are a school-based educator who is finding a lot of value in the Anti-Boring Toolkit and also our Anti-Boring Educators Club. And I thought it would be really helpful for other school-based folks out there to hear your experience and to hear how your own practice in your school is changing as a result of having these new tools. So I think before we dive into all those specifics, tell us where you are, what you do, what your role is at the school, and anything you want to tell us to paint the context of what you do.
Okay. I am in Nashville, Tennessee, and I work as a high school counselor at a magnet school here in our town, academic magnet school. We are 7th through 12th grade, but I specifically work with 9th through 12th graders. And so this is my 7th year as a school counselor. And now we've gone through the pandemic. And I just have seen more and more, specifically this year, a lot of distractions with kids. They don't know how to be organized. They don't know how to manage their time. They don't know how to study. And it's just been kind of a snowball effect with those problems. I tend to be a root cause person instead of like, let's fix let's put a pill, I'll give them a pill for this ailment here. I want to know the root cause. And so in the students that I've spoken with, it just seems like over and over again, their anxiety particularly, but also some depression and sometimes even behavioral issues. The root cause seems to be that they're not organized. They don't know how to study. When it's a struggle, they just want to quit. The resilience to keep working through the struggle, that's just not there. And instead of trying to reinvent the wheel and figure out how to manage this, I started looking online for what's out there. We can't be the only ones with this issue. And what is everybody else trying and working with? And I stumbled across your program and started looking at it and went, oh my, this has got some great tools that I'd like to play around with and learn more about. And that's how I ended up in your program.
Do you remember when you took the Art of Inspiring Students, like when you started? I don't remember right now.
It was last summer when I started searching, and I believe it was the beginning of the year because I started it, but then didn't get a good role, didn't get really started with it because all the stuff here. And so by the time I would get home, I was like, I cannot stand the thought of sitting in front of the computer any longer.
Yeah.
And so it took a while to work through that beginning of the year hump. And so then it was mid-fall before I really started diving back into it seriously.
That's right. So you haven't really then even completed the full year yet.
No. And last weekend, I was like, okay, I've got to get my mind wrapped around all this because I've pieced it as I've had time to do it. And so I sat down and I started going through the student part again and realized I've not even done the unit on procrastination. I need to finish this. So I've been, that's the one piece I still have yet to do. Yeah. But even so, even though I've kind of piecemealed the program and not sat down and done it all at once or, like in a month or so, it's still given me tools to use with kids.
And I would even tell you that it might have been a better learning rhythm for you to do it this slowly and work on one little piece over time, then to consume it all at once. I know in our current education culture, we think that you teach something and it's learned, and that's the way we do it. But I've seen over and over, people feel urgent when they come into the program, and then the reality of their work life, personal life, and learning the tools comes into play. And it's one reason why I've structured it as a year-long program now, because I just see that allows the most flexibility and the most time to let educators learn a tool or two, practice it in their context, learn a tool or two, practice it in their context. So I'm so thrilled to hear that that has actually worked for you.
And it seems like at the beginning, the evening piece where parents or other people can join, I don't think that I had to buy into the program in order to go to that piece. That was kind of what wetted my whistle on this, because the couple months of meetings that I entered and sat there and listened to, I was like, oh gosh, this is good. Oh, wow. And it really helped me understand the value of the program. And so then that's when I went ahead and bought into it.
Let me say something about that, because people listening in, I want to clarify, when Jenny started, she started only with the Art of Inspiring Students course. And that is possible for people to do what Jenny did. But now, because I've seen over and over the value of the year, I am actually centering the full Rock Your Coaching program, so people can purchase straight into the year-long program. And that way just commit to a year's worth of professional development. And so I'm glad to hear that you were just like, oh yeah, okay, I see the value of it. And I would really recommend that people, I mean, obviously, if you only have a little bit of PD money to spend, $495 is the cost of Art of Inspiring Students. But if you can manage, depending on when there's a discount, right now it's $795. When there's not a discount, it's $995 the full year. You end up saving money on all the different programs that I incorporate in the full year. And then you just get that inspiration right away that you were experiencing.
Yeah. And my principal, we get BEP money here in our district. I'm assuming it's across the United States, but my principal also allowed me to use my BEP money for part of this. So that was nice, just to get a little discount from my school, because she saw the value in what I was learning.
Right.
And so, yeah, it's been really good. About a year ago, I had completed a health coaching program, learning just coaching skills in general, motivational interviewing, things like that. And I think because I am working at a school, after I finished that program, I was like, okay, currently I'm sitting in a school and I need to shift these skills or things I've learned into more academic. And your program kind of layered nicely into that. But it has been helpful to have and more of a confidence for me when a student comes in and they're like anxious or depressed or whatever, I have said, okay, how are you managing your time? How are you organizing what you're doing? Things like that. And then after talking to them, I mean, one after another, they're trying to keep it all in their head.
Right.
They're not writing it down. They're not getting it out of their body and letting the piece of paper tell them what to do. They're trying to remember everything. And then they're turning in things late. They're taking tests late, which is frustrating the teachers. And seeing this over and over again, I have also talked to people in the building, and now next year we're going to make it as a all school planner initiative where everybody has a planner, and we are having those conversations of how do we train the teachers so that everybody's having the same language around the planners, this and that, and as well as, okay, because you're always going to have some kids that don't want to do it. So if the teachers are seeing this, then they can refer those kids to the counselors, so then we can work one-on-one with those kids. But as well as planning advisory lessons around study skills, the brain science behind all this, so they understand the why. And so we're just starting to think through all that. And I'm sure that there'll be a lot of things we do wrong in the process next year, and that we need to shift and think through stuff for the following year. But it's a good start.
How do you think you're thinking about all of this would or has been affected by your membership in the Rock Your Coaching program? Because it's like you've been noticing a lot of things that I'm sure everybody notices anyway, whether or not they're in my program. But then how do you think your thinking itself was affected by our community and our tools?
I think it was strengthened by going through your program. It's like, I'm not trying to make it up on the fly. Like, yes, this is a program that other people are using and seeing success in, that other schools are using and seeing success in. The various coaches in the program are helping kids one-on-one with this information and seeing a shift, whether it's one at a time or school at a time. And so just feeling like I'm in a support group for this problem, and having the tools that are tested, I think has been the biggest help.
And it occurs to me, when you're school-based, you do have community of people who are noticing the same problems. But I'm thinking about closed systems versus open systems. You only, in a closed system, which a school could tend to be if people inside the school aren't naturally learning new things,
Right.
You only have the creativity of the people who are immediately faced with the problems. And then you also have the emotions, right? Teachers are frustrated, they're annoyed, they blame the students. People are just like, everybody's got emotion around it. And so to be a part of an open system where ideas are coming from other different places that might inform your community's experience, it seems like that has really ignited your creativity and your ability to take swifter action.
Yes, I'm able to say, this is a program that's being used here. I have the verbiage, and I have the ideas on how to make the shift, instead of everybody sitting around the table beating it out, and not getting anywhere, because that seems to happen in schools an awful lot, or at least in the school.
The verbiage you're referring to is the mini lectures that I teach around the brain science and around the different strategies, or is it something different?
It could be even like thinking about the study cycle. I mean, like it's so simple, but we don't have that verbiage. The study cycle of encoding this information in the brain, and then testing ourselves and why, and the different tools that they can use to test themselves. We have, one teacher that comes to my mind in this building who does really well with giving them tools on how to test themselves. But do they understand the why? That they may think the why is so that I can get an A in the class. Well, that's not everybody's goal.
Right. And I would add to that when they understand the why, then they can take the strategies that this particular teacher teaches in the context of her class, and they can transfer them to other classes. So instead of becoming a way to survive or thrive in this class, it becomes a toolkit for the rest of your life, what the teacher teaches, because they understand the brain science behind why these strategies might work. Definitely.
And then within the coaching format that you have, the program, Rock Your Coaching, the stuff like from Krista Hopper with the executive functioning.
Yeah.
That
by the way.
Props. So, yeah, so that material has really energized me as well, because I'm sitting here thinking, I am tired of the only accommodation we give with our 504s is time and a half or preferential seating. Like, we've got to get a lot more creative with this to really help the kid.
Mhm.
And just how the videos that she's had, that to think through that information has also given me material so that when we start school next year and we're trying to train the teachers on how to use the agendas, it's given me verbiage on executive functioning, and in order to think through, to help teachers understand the why for them as to what we're doing. I mean, yes, they understand the why so that kids are organized and hopefully not turning in things late and taking tests late. But I want them to understand also the why for the executive functioning piece too. So it just strengthens all that.
I'm so glad to hear you name all this, because those executive function deep dive videos are new this year. And now I know they're so valuable, I'll keep them there. And so what people should know is when you join Rock Your Coaching, you get the course, The Art of Inspiring Students, where you learn all the anti-boring tools. And then you get this monthly membership for a year that layers in other trainings. And so there's one executive function video a month where you just learn about one specific executive function skill. And so it really provides time for you to learn it and then go notice in your school how it's impacted and what of the anti-boring tools will help with that. And then the next month there's another one. And if you stay in for a year, which is the design of the program, you will be exposed to all the executive function deep dive videos.
Yeah, and then the Rock Your Coaching meetings.
Mhm.
You know, it's kind of like a support group, you know, because I'll be like running out of gas, feeling, and then I'll sit in that meeting that once a month, and it's like, oh yeah, oh, that's a good idea. Oh, I need to think about that. I think the last month, there was also the links to Susanna's
Flexible mindset mini course.
her was it flexible mindset, or was it
Oh, the habit and grades graph. There was also
habits and grades? That was fascinating, as well as the understanding your why piece, where she did a mini lesson like that. And there was a link to the video when the next group up, I can't remember, I get those names switched around, sorry. Y'all had a meeting and she was talking about that. Yeah. And I was even watching those older videos. I was working on that last night, and I was like, oh, this has got some really good thoughts that I need to think through. So it just, it kind of lights your fire when your fire is getting wet. I just feel like, there's a month of all this negative stuff that gets dumped on my fire, and it's about out. And then I go to those meetings, and it just really lights the flame a little bit more for my job.
You know what? I've been doing all these interviews. I almost want to cry right now, but you all say the same things. And Candace, one thing Candace said, the one piece of advice for people to join the program, and whichever, she was like, come to the fire. Warm your hands at the fire of the community calls. Even if you can't come in person, watch the videos.
Yeah.
Warm your hands at the fire. And so I'm just so touched that even though I teach a lot of really good specific content, that it seems like one of the most valuable parts of the program is just a warm, nurturing place to warm your hands at a campfire.
Yeah. I mean, it's like a educator support group. Mm-hmm. It feels supportive when I hear other people in schools, or some of these people are parents, some of them are coaches. They are seeing, how they're managing pieces, gives you ideas, or it makes you feel good that it's like, I'm not the only one experiencing this. It's just, it definitely is encouraging.
And I'm glad to hear that too, because it really is a diverse group in regards to roles people play. And so I've sometimes wondered if that would be a downside for teachers or other school-based administrators to be in the conversation. But again, closed versus open.
Yeah.
When we have all these creative, caring minds who come from their different territories in education, all coming together to solve problems together, it can spark ideas that might not get sparked if we were all teachers or all coaches or all whatever.
Yeah. Even homeschoolers. There's some things I've went, oh, that's really cool what they're doing, you know? And it's a small enough group that, I mean, I with large groups, I tend to be the quiet one in the group and I just sit there and take it in and listen. But if it's a smaller group, then I feel more comfortable to speak up and ask questions or make comments. And so it's a really good size of a group to where you feel like you can add to it. You're not taking up space for other people when it's when it's too big of a group. So
I'm also cheeky and call on you when you've been quiet for a little while to be like, Jenny, there's something you're thinking.
yeah. And I've been in groups that had 40, 50 people, and the facilitator can't do that with that many people.
Yeah. And we may get to the point someday where we have that many people, but right now it's more intimate. And so now's a great time to join us if you want to continue having that intimate experience.
Yeah, I think that's part of the value of it, is the intimate connections. Like, I feel like you guys are my friends, and
yeah. Well, and my hope is, as we grow as a community, to find more and more ways to keep that sense of intimacy together, because I think it's possible. And I know it's possible in a school environment. There can be a sense of intimacy in a school of several thousand people. So not that there are going to be that many on our training calls, but I think it is really interesting and actually relevant to what we're talking about, because it's not just skills that you learn as an adult, but it's what's your way of being that invites a sense of connection and collaboration with all participants. And I'm not your trainer in those community calls. I mean, I do make some suggestions and give some advice and answer questions, but I like to think, and maybe you can say if this is working, that it really is where we're all a bunch of equal minds thinking about a problem together.
Yeah, and it's I mean, even people from the college level, it's just all aspects of education: homeschool, elementary, middle school, high school, college, coaches, anybody that has anything to do with education, I think we all grow from each other's ideas. Yeah.
Well, I'm so glad it's been of service to you. And I suddenly realized, like, oh no, your year is coming to an end. Am I going to lose you? So I kind of hope that you'll be able to, I don't know if you'll have the funds to re-up for another year or need to, but anyway, I've so enjoyed having you in our presence and learning through you. I've really admired the process that you've been leading around bringing faculty and students together to help envision this new planner for your community. And I can't wait to hear how that turns out. So just thank you for bringing your full self to this learning.
Well, thanks.
Yeah.
Thank you for the program and all your creativity behind it. It's really cool.
Yeah, well, you're very welcome. And I know we have another conversation we want to have off recording. So I'm going to say thank you to everybody watching. And if you have any questions, you can go to my website, gretchenwegner.com. There's a For Educators tab up there, and that details the Rock Your Coaching program. You can start anytime, but we do have cohorts that start at a time all together if community really helps in that way. And we're having a cohort start up June 2022. So if this professional development sounds like the right fit for you, and if you've got some extra COVID relief funds lying around that you're like, how are we going to spend this? Why don't you come join us in the next school year to transform your students' executive function skills and study skills. And I look forward to meeting you. So that's the pitch. And I think I'm going to end our little chat here so you and I can continue on.
Okay.
Take care, everyone.